Good morning, everybody. We are just waiting for one more member for our quorum, and we will begin. Thank you.
All right, we will begin the SBAR hearing for June 20th, 2025, and we will begin with any public comment not pertaining to items on today's agenda.
We have two attendees. If anybody in the attendees column has a public comment on an item not on today's agenda, please raise your hand. Madam Chair, we have no public comment.
Okay, move on to the agenda status report.
Item number 2,
Oh, yeah.
25 BAR-00045, Avocado 4 Ranch Trust Barn asked to be dropped from the agenda from today. And so when it comes back, it will be renoticed.
Okay. And we'll move on to reviewing the minutes from June 6th. Did you say that we don't have?
We don't have a quorum from that hearing to approve the minutes.
Okay, so let's review them so we can just make a motion next time. We've checked so many times. You know,
Whatever you want. Oh, reading.
We're very minimal from last time. Oh, you're recusing yourself. Because Robert wasn't here. Okay, so we can't. All right, move on to the as per member informational briefings. Does anybody have anything? Nope. All right, and staff update.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Joe. No updates from me today. Happy Friday.
Okay, thanks, Joe. All right, and the consent agenda was dropped, consent item, so we'll move on to item 1.
Just a quick question.
What's
Jonathan, do we know if that item can be heard, the one that I have to recuse from? Okay, maybe you could just let me know so I could let the architect. Thank you.
Oh, and I guess I should have said in this SBAR member informational briefings,
Yeah, so have to recuse from the Holiday Hill item, but I'm not sure if we can hear it because there were some issues with the noticing, and I guess the planner can identify that. Now, I have another question of whether or not I'm allowed to present at these meetings because.
If you have to, you can.
Okay, you can? All right. Because I was told by staff before that there was like a strict rule against it. I had even asked if I could write like a letter in to present my project, and they had told me. Okay. So.
I think Val's had to present her own before. Yeah. Val's special. That's not on the record. Okay, so all right, so let's get confirmation on whether item 4 can be heard, and I have to recuse from item 5. Okay, item 1, the request of Jennifer Siemens, agent for the owner Capizzoli Family Trust, for conceptual review of a 1,779 square foot barn and as-built approval of a 720 square foot guest house plus a 46 square foot addition to a guest house. Following structures exist on the parcel: a 6,500 square foot house and garage, pool, a workshop, accessory rooms attached to a guest house. The project proposes cut and fill, I think is, you have a more accurate, is the proposed project cut and fill, or, oh, Okay, to be determined. The property is a 5.2 acre parcel located at 1865 Cravens Lane in the Toro Canyon Community Plan area. Thanks. It's not reading ahead enough. Okay, is the applicant online?
Good morning, I'm here. This is Jennifer. I'm just going to give you a little background on this and then I'm going to let the architect give you all the details. So as you mentioned, this is a little over 5 acres located at the top of Cravens Lane. The current owners recently purchased the property and it included the existing guest house that was built by the previous owner. The previous owner did obtain a coastal development permit for the guest house, but when they built it, they did it without building permits. They built it pretty close to what the CDP was approved for, but now the current owners would like to validate the existing structure by getting an up-to-date coastal development permit and as-built building permits, but also have it comply with the guest house ordinance by removing the kitchen and putting in a ordinance approved wet bar and bump out a little bit of the structure by adding the proposed 46 square feet. And in addition to the guest house, they're proposing a barn. They do have some avocados out there. They have an acre or two of avocados, so the barn would support that ag and also provide for general storage. And that's all I have to say, so I'm going to let Danny Longwell take it away. Oh, is he not on? Okay.
Let me see if his name is there.
I didn't see him on and he thought he was logged on. Let's
Oh, and
see.
he's got his hand
Oh,
up.
there he is.
Time's the unmuting.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, it didn't seem like I was on as a presenter, so. Okay.
I just added you to, I promoted you to panelist. So if you accept that, we can have you over to the panelist side.
Oh, did I hit the right button? You guys hearing me?
Yeah, you're
Yes, we
good.
can hear you.
Okay,
You
sorry.
can go ahead,
All
Danny.
right,
We'll-
yeah, so I missed a little bit of what Jennifer said. I was trying to figure out how to make myself a speaker, but I think she covered it. Yeah, existing house on a 5 acre avocado ranch. It's kind of a Mediterranean style farm house. The main house, I think, was originally built in the 1930s, a small farmhouse. In the 90s, they did an extensive addition project. I think that's the time that the guest house was approved on a CDP. It just wasn't built and permitted properly. So we're going through that process. There's a couple just interior revisions, a slight little adjustment in square footage that you can see on the plan. The photos show the style which matches the main house, tile roof, some earth tone plaster, kind of just classic Mediterranean. In addition to the guest house, we're also proposing a little bit less than 1,800 square foot barn for the ranch. And if you go to the next sheet, you can kind of see the location there. The photos, if you go up 3 sheets, the second page of photos, you can see the kind of site area. Yeah, that one, thanks. The site area there. So this is kind of looking, the first one on the left is looking from a distance from the front porch of the main house. On the very bottom left corner, kind of center screen, to the right of those palm trees would be the corner of the property where the barn would go. This, again, similar view from the porch. And then on the right there, image 3, you can see that kind of corner there where the palm tree is on the right. That's what we're proposing the barn. It's a pretty well screened property. There's actually a barn on the property to the south below that there that is probably similar in size, maybe a little larger. So if you keep scrolling down, yeah,
You can go to the,
yeah. I think you've been seeing that.
yeah. Looks like they're all,
Yeah, so there it is there. There's about an acre of avocados, which is plantable. I think it's about as much as it can, because there is kind of a creek habitat setting that's there to the west that's not, suitable for planting. We've met with fire. They've signed off on the access. Okay, so here's the existing guest house. The only changes we're proposing in this middle section, we're going to expand into the patio a little bit to fit a proper little dining table and remove the little window bump out, because that is currently built as a kitchen, which has to be removed as in a guest house. We can only have the 7-foot kind
we're
of
not
wet
overly
bar.
worried on the interior, Danny. It's okay. You can
Okay.
focus on the
Yeah,
elevation.
that was just the exterior changes. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. This being, the barn is, pretty compact barn, just enough height to get a small loft on one end with, like a 6-foot plate height on the shoulders. It's pretty compact, but enough to fit some kind of compact utility tractor, a UTV like an E-Z-GO, a flatbed truck, and a kind of more off-road truck. So I think that's it.
Good. We'll move on to questions from the board. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, what are the materials for the barn and the guest house?
Currently the guest house is a Santa Barbara stucco. You can see it in the site photos, kind of a lumpy plaster. So we just keep that. It matches the main house. It has kind of a like the Santa Barbara green, maybe a little more blue colored wood windows. So we'd be keep those and just replace the couple that we're revising. And the barn right now it's not final, but we kind of want to have some reference to this more Mediterranean farm. So right now we're a metal, probably corrugated metal roof and either wood siding or possibly even plaster. So we haven't final that yet with the owner.
It's not a metal, it's not corrugated metal, vertical, no. The siding.
No.
Okay.
It's proposes, yeah. So,
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to any public comment for item 1.
If anybody has any public comment on item 1, please raise your hand in the chat. Madam Chair, we have no public comment and no letters submitted.
Okay, close public comment and move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Alex.
It seems like a perfectly fine addition and to the property. Just a suggestion, maybe it might take, I think the round arch doors that were seen in the barn and maybe the round circle in the back, they seem to be a little bit too much for an agrarian building, but it's just a suggestion. Thank you.
I think the project's acceptable. I think the mass bulk and scale is in line with the site, so.
I agree with Amy. Mass bulk and scale is appropriate. Neighborhood compatibility is appropriate. Style of the architecture is appropriate for the neighborhood. And the proposals seem pretty minor in nature and architecturally very nice.
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments and it should be allowed to proceed, so.
I agree. Since we don't know what the grading's gonna look like, I think when you return, if we can see how much of the site might be impacted by grading and whether you might need some landscaping to restore it. Sorry, did you say something? Might just be an echo. Okay. Oh, it's Joe. Okay. Oh, Joe typing.
So how much grading are we talking about? Is it hundreds or thousands or what?
I think we'll be under 50 cubic yards. It's a flat
50, under 50 cubic yards.
under 50.
So
Yeah.
how about returning to consent for preliminary and final? That's just my
Okay, yeah.
suggestion. You know?
Yeah, we can, so you have positive comments for conceptual and, we can have you return prelim and final on consent? Just bring your material boards and any other grading information and structural information, all that. I don't know if Danny can hear.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, and item 2 has been dropped, right, or continued. We'll move on to item 3. Is the applicant online, just to confirm before I read it? Yeah, I didn't see too many on there. All the planners are on today. So 5 might be a big jump. I'm not sure the rest of the.
Hey, Kiana, do you know if the project applicant is gonna be online or in person? For item 3?
They did not tell me, but they did send an email yesterday, so I assumed they would be here.
The audience, are you Anna? Okay.
Want to move on to item 5 or 4?
So we don't have an answer on whether item
We do
4
actually.
can be heard. Oh, can it be heard today?
Can be heard today, but I think
Uh,
Robert's coordinating with the applicant right now.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
absolutely.
all right. Maybe we'll take a 5-minute recess then. So I don't think we should jumble it too much. We're waiting on that applicant to get, to be available as well.
We have the applicant for item 5 on.
I can text my office and then,
Madam Chair, while
Yeah.
we're waiting, I was curious for the consent agenda. I didn't hear whether or not there was action on that. Is that
it was not heard. I
it
think
was
it was
not heard? Okay,
dropped, correct? Yeah.
got it. Okay, thank you.
I'll read the summary. I was just waiting until yeah. Okay. Item 3, Lilibet Holdings LLC addition, request for Tarn Shea architect for the owner, Lilibet Holdings LLC. Here for conceptual review of a remodel and a 289 square foot addition to the main floor, 428 square foot addition to the upper floor of an existing single family dwelling with attached garage. The following structures exist on the parcel: a 3,300 square foot residence, a attached garage, and the cut and filler to be determined. The property is a 1-acre parcel located at 2775 East Valley Road in the Toro Canyon Community Plan area. You can go ahead and state your name and give us your presentation.
All right. You saw this.
I did get an update from the agent. They said that John from their team is going to join in person and should be there momentarily.
They actually just walked in.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Don Nolte. Saw this project maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Sorry, if you don't mind speaking into the microphone.
It's on out East Valley, just past Freehaven Road. And there was swimming pool proposed in the backyard and minor additions and some arbors. And there's a new owner right now. And we're proposing substantial addition to the project and then completely remodel through that rest of the house. It has a good layout, but the house was built in an era when things were, we have 2x4 stud walls and 2x6 joists, and rafters and things like that. So it's going to be mostly rebuilt inside. The best feature of the house are the mountain views. And we feel that the layout really doesn't take advantage of that. So instead of the bottom left, you can see the views that there are from the tennis court area. And so we're, in the upper left corner, that view there, that's when you leave the site, there's that beautiful woodland across the street. So it's an interesting part of town. And we propose to take the tennis court out, but it's not on our LUP request at this time because we have to work out the Montecito Water District calculations for the new landscaping that we want to add. So it has a historical low water use that we're grappling with. So when we propose a new swimming pool, the landscape plan is going to be really crucial, how we can meet WELO and such, and then the Montecito Water District. Want to go to the floor plans? So that's the existing plan there. And there's our proposed additions. The shaded area is enlargement of the kitchen on the first floor plan on the right. We're taking we propose to take one of the garage bays out for a guest room and mud room. And then the large area at the kitchen where we're adding on there, that's also to support some bedrooms upstairs. And then we're also a small addition at the entry area. Going upstairs to the left side, we'll get 4 bedrooms this way that are needed. And we're revising pretty much everything on that level. You can go to the elevations. That's the existing and proposed there. On the upper left is the north-facing part of the house, and we're opening up more of that to the views. Down below that, that's the garage, and we'll have a 2-car garage now, and where we're adding another guest bedroom. And on the second drawing on the right, oh, okay. Where are they duplicate drawings? Okay. Okay. So on the upper left, covered terrace. And the backyard per se will really be dedicated instead of the swimming pool to play areas, gardens, and such. And it's kind of close to Freehaven Road behind there. So that's one of the decisions also about placing the pool on the other side of the house. That's about it right now. So when we come back, we hope to have all the water worked out and a landscape plan and to develop the rest of the site to at least get the building, the swimming pool in, and sort of a master plan for cabana and arbors for that area.
We have nobody else online and no other letters submitted.
So I'm Anna Bradley, and I'm representing the house that's just behind the proposed build at 2767 Macadamia Lane. There are two houses that are kind of directly up a slope right behind the proposed build. That is the back-facing portion that we're looking at. So not the end. No, I think. So, there's a road, a macadamia lane that splits these properties. And my mother's or my family's property is the 2767. That road has the turnaround for fire, et cetera. That's fine. And we have a screening hedge that's worked pretty well, that kind of buffers looking towards the existing build. However, even with that screening hedge, we do feel lighting and the presence of the property below, which is normal, I guess. That's fine. But I feel like it's on us to create the screening for that, or it has been. So a concern on my side is about the size of the build coming towards the two properties above the slope, because there's something about the noise that's in this little channel that goes up the hill. Just bringing that to your attention. So I don't know if that's been considered in the noise and directing, or doors or windows coming out towards the back facing. So that's a main question. The lighting, which I think is probably standard now that you're not supposed to have out-facing lighting. But as I just feel like as the second story comes closer to us, at this time, we can actually see the lighting in the house at nighttime anyway. So that will be coming forward towards us. So a question is, can there be screening, trees or something put in on that side of their side of the property, or something that's going to help with a build that comes with lighting towards us? And the second thing is, sure about. Do you know about that, or anyway? Oh, I went over my 3 minutes. Sorry. Oh. Well, there's an opening, and there's a fence opening where previous property owners somebody installed an opening, so people are passing through, and I'm concerned about a build and people just coming on to that open corridor. I think that I covered my main points. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, that area that we're concerned is actually street. So their property, I gather, is on the other side of the street. Yeah. Yeah. And the trees there are large redwood trees for that screening. So we can certainly fill in between that and for night lighting and such. And the fence, they'll want to secure the property with fencing. They have very young children. So. Correct. Much as we'd like it.
I think architecturally, the addition, it seems minimal, as far as where we're building out and just hearing the concerns from the neighbor. It looks, at least on the upper level, it's for a closet, so ideally that shouldn't, should mitigate maybe some of the concern of lighting. But I guess it would be helpful to, on the site plan, actually show the surrounding streets or even sort of adjacent neighbors, so we can actually see what those adjacencies are, because right now we're just sort of looking at this site, so it's hard to understand how close people are. But I think as far as these additions and the change in style and elevation, I think those are acceptable.
Architectural style is appropriate for the neighborhood. I think the general mass spoken scale of the project, that seems to be in keeping with the existing structures, and probably, well, not probably, seems appropriate for the neighborhood. Architectural style is appropriate, so mass bulk and scale. What else? So generally support the proposal, and probably that would be that, except for neighbors come here to participate and pay attention to some things, so I think we should do that. Can we go to the elevation that faces the neighbor, please? So I think some attention should be given just to look at sight lines from, the translation of windows to neighbors' properties. We always kind of look at that. That's facing a rear yard setback or a front? Okay. And how far from the property line is that elevation approximately?
50, 60 feet?
Okay, that's pretty far away. So this is not looming over the neighbor's property in any way, shape, or form. So I think, from that standpoint, really if applicant wants to work with the neighbor to create screening and the landscaping, that could probably help. But I wouldn't condition that or put that as an official comment in the record. I just think that's good practice. And it's really not up to us to enforce that. I don't think we should. The only other comment I would make is just that, and this is obvious, but the project should have night sky compliant lighting throughout. And, any existing light fixtures on the project that aren't compliant should be considered for replacement, so that, the house has a limited effect on neighboring properties from that standpoint. That's it.
I agree with the positive comments. I think it's a perfectly acceptable addition, matches the house, compatible with the neighborhood. I support the project.
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments as well. It'll be good to see the landscape plan as that gets developed, and also encourage the interaction Josh was talking about with the neighbors and trying to address their concerns. Sounds like you want to maintain some sense of privacy. So I guess seeing with how the landscape plan is set up, I don't know if anything's going to change on the backside of this house, but you might want to kind of coordinate that with the neighbor. But seems like the project fits in, and the pool area looks like it'll be nice when it's all developed. So look forward to seeing that all.
Oh, sorry. That was a while that it was off. I'll repeat my comment really quick. I agree with the previous comments, and just when the applicant returns to bring some photos from the public right away facing the project so that we can see where the gaps in the screening are and what's proposed to fortify that. And then the project was agendized for concept, but it sounds like the scope may change. And so I just want to ask the planner, can we request that if they get kicked back to concept, because the scope changes, can they be agendized for concept and prelim together so that you have a chance to move the project on? The planner on.
And I can request for that.
Okay, so we'll say you can return for prelim, and then if for some reason, if the scope does change, then that request for the.
Then a separate hearing then for final.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, we can, yeah, we haven't seen landscape yet, but assuming that you'll bring a landscape plan, then yeah, you can be agendized for all. Hey, sport is full of landscape architects. Yeah. So, unless your planner has an issue with that, you can come back for prelim and final. Thank you. All right, and item 4 we are able to hear 4. Okay, all right, so.
All right,
Do we have clarification for Robert? Yeah, he can. Val has presented hers before if you're a sole proprietor. Yeah.
He told I'm getting scanned.
No, my God.
Is Jeff A?
All right, we'll move on to item 4, the Saldana addition and accessory structure request of Jeppy Madsen here for further conceptual review for a project of for a 683 square foot addition to an existing single family dwelling and a 1,823 square foot covered patio with outdoor kitchen, living and dining spaces. The project will also require a retaining wall. There's an existing main residence of 2,632 square feet, a detached ADU, and the project will require approximately 1.45 cubic yards of cut and 0.45 of fill. Do we need a clarification on that, or we'll go with that for now? Okay. It's a 0.85 acre parcel located at 1350 Holiday Hill Road in the Eastern Galeta Valley, Eastern Galeta community plan area. I'll read the previous comments unless the project's changed holistically. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and read them then. It appears the scope of the project will require demolition and reconstruction of the majority of the existing structure. Project details and elevations appear stark and need further study. Eve details need further work. Proposed entry is awkward. Restudy the entrance location on end of house given grade change. Consider fire pit and picnic area near pool to centralized activity zone. Awkward to have the program pushed up against the street. Provide building and site cross-section. Clearly show existing and proposed development. It's interesting. I feel like this was one version back on the comments, but do those seem like the correct comments to you?
I think that's the current comments.
Okay. All right. So you guys can go ahead with your presentation, focusing on things that have changed since we last saw it.
Jeff A, are you there? You gotta unmute her.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You are correct, by the way, that those comments are from the previous, are not from the previous, it's from the first.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. And the description is also not accurate for the current project. So I can I can go through the comments as I present, if that's helpful.
Yeah, let's go ahead with that.
Okay, all right. So hopefully you guys are somewhat familiar with the project. It has not changed significantly. It's just been refined a bit per your requests. So it's a existing ranch style home in the Galeta Hills. We are proposing an extensive remodel where we raise the roof, we move the kitchens, we redesign the bedrooms, and we significantly re-landscape it. We keep the pool, but there's a gazebo that we're adding. The gazebo, one thing that we should note is that the location of it might need to change. That is information that we got this week. So that's on the TBD list. But so the first comment from SBAR says Mediterranean architectural style appears appropriate. Further details are required to determine whether mass, bulk, and scale is appropriate for neighborhood compatibility. I will discuss that, the mass, bulk, scale. There's some drawings that we have to show that. It appears the scope of the project will require demolition and reconstruction of the majority of the existing structure. That is correct. Return with separate plan set showing the existing site plan and proposed site plan. If you look at A1.1, I don't have control of the drawings, do I?
No, so yeah, just direct Jonathan to which sheet you would like to be on.
Okay, A1.1.
A1.1, yeah, there you go.
So that's the existing site plan. And then the following drawing is the proposed site plan. So you can see we're keeping the pool, we're keeping the footprint of the home. We are adding some square footage. We're adding a wraparound porch and a gazebo, sort of to soften the transition between the home and a fairly dry, arid landscape. You want me to go through all of this, all your comments with my presentation, and then you can address it, or do you want to discuss each of these as we discuss it?
You can go ahead with your full presentation and then we'll address it. Yeah.
Okay. Provide building and site cross sections that include adjacent properties and development. That is the following drawing. Let's see.
Keep going down, Jonathan.
A3, or sorry.
Next one down, one more on your cursor. Put your cursor one more below that. Yeah, there we go. If you can get that into the whole window, is that possible? That whole drawing? So on that one, the center piece is a site section showing the Saldana's property is the one that's sort of on the lower left quadrant of the of that cross that's formed by the two cross sections. So you can see it's significantly lower on the slope than the adjacent properties. That sort of red triangle is a person standing 5 feet from the fence and what they would be able to see from the adjacent properties into the Saldana's property. So it's almost completely negligible. The photos on either side show the neighbors and their fence line. I don't know if you want to scroll in on that, enlarge it so that you can see what the adjacent properties look like.
Can you mention which sheet you're on for the diagram?
What sheet is that? I can't see it on your.
So sorry, which
4.1.
section did you want me to, page 13? Which section did you want me to zoom in on, sorry?
I think she was suggesting you could look at the photos.
At the
on that sheet.
photos.
But, so that's a photo right there looking from the existing pool area up towards the neighbor. So at the previous meeting, there was concern that the cabana that is being proposed there, which is adjacent to the pool, would potentially block the neighbor's views. But the sections and the photos are presented here to try to point out that the neighbor really doesn't have any visibility of the proposed cabana. And the cabana is kind of in question right now because of an issue that the planner had brought up about it being sited on a slope that exceeded 20%. So sorry to jump in, Jeppy, but maybe
No,
I
I
can kind of help.
appreciate
Because could you maybe just zoom back a little bit, Jonathan?
Yeah.
And then go to the zoom up on the sheet to where you could see the section above. Okay, there you can see the cabana, how it's sited, and it's below any visibility impacting the neighbor. So that's what the section's supposed to illustrate. So
Yeah.
maybe go ahead, Jeppe.
As is the house. I mean, the house really can't be seen from the neighbors. And if you scroll over to the photos on the right side of the site plan, you can see that's the neighbor's view. It's a boarded up garage that looks onto the Saldana's property, but even that looks over the level of the cabana or the house. So that was to address that item D. Item E was provide roof plan. If you look at A14, you can see proposed and existing roof plan.
1.4.
I think you go up. Up. There it is. Yep.
Maybe zoom out a little bit on it there. That's the existing against the proposed.
So you can see the footprint is pretty much the same. We're raising the roof, but we've added a wraparound porch. And then that structure that you see the roof off to the right is the gazebo, which, as we've both mentioned, is possibly going to change. That's something we're going to need to work with the planner about. Okay, item F. Ensure drawings are labeled appropriately, including finished floor, plate heights, etc. If you look at A4, that's pretty much the same drawing that I presented last time that has all that. Yes, there it is. Study details of elements throughout proposed improvements. Project details and elevations appear stark and need further study. Eve detail needs further work. If you look at A3.4 at the elevations, I think that sort of indicates some of the details, as does A4.2, which is the porch to eave connection. That one. That shows the section of actually how the roof and the porch meet each other. And then the photographs that I've included are both historic, primarily historic, but one contemporary example where the roof and the wraparound porch are separated, which is a detail that we had discussed for a bit last meeting. So I wanted to kind of give an idea of the aesthetic that we're going for and the historical context of it as well. G2 was recessed windows, which we did. 3 was study blank walls. I think this is all maybe information in the elevation that you guys can look at. It's one more up. And I don't know if you want to scroll in to see the entry. That was item 4. Entry appears out of proportion. Either additional details necessary or lowered. Entry tower is fine in terms of massing, but doors appear awkward and too small. So that's the upper left elevation if you want to scroll in on that. So that center peak structure is the entry that we're adding additional square footage. And we've tucked to the left of that entry, we've tucked some room for square footage for a dining room under that side of that porch. And then on the right is a powder room on under that covered porch area. Number 6, restudy relationship between the canopy and roof, include details on outdoor porch, consider raising roof to match roof of structure. That was that item 4.2 or drawing 4.2 that I showed you earlier with the roof detail and some of the historic context of the aesthetic that we're looking for. But I think it would read much too massive a roof if we were not to have the break between the wraparound porch and the roof over the main house. And then 7 was study single window on garage elevation. I think that was the elevations, the one that we sort of honed in on before the entry. That was the garage window that you were talking about. I don't know if you want to look at that again while we're talking. And then item H was return with the landscape plan, show how the project will interact with the street, include landscape plan, show existing and proposed fencing on the site plan, study ways to incorporate planters into the pool deck area. So this was Robert's design. You can see that we've added some planter beds. If you scroll in near the pool, we've added some planter beds around the pool to sort of soften the hardscape in that area. We have improved the compatibility with the neighborhood and the new entry. So if you scroll lower on that drawing, you can see we've moved the gate back 30 feet to accommodate the fire department requirement. The lower, if you go a little lower and to the left a little more, you can see the elevation of the entry. That's the proposed elevation with wood and iron gate, white plasters, and then a pedestrian entryway that's separated from the driveway. Let me just look at the notes. The
Dave, Jeff, and maybe I could hop in for a second.
Sure.
I think at the previous meeting, there was, what had been brought up was how the property looks from the street. So what we're doing to improve that is proposing new planting and screen hedging there adjacent to the driveway. So you got the new driveway gates, and there's existing screening that goes up along the left side of the sheet there along Holiday Hill Road. But then on the right-hand side of it, the property was really visible just because of the existing conditions. So we got new fencing, hedge, and then trees behind it. And then we've got planting all around it to kind of help soften, the view of this house. And then trying to really make like a new entry statement coming in along the driveway there. And then maybe, Jonathan, could you go to the next sheet there, please? Then on this sheet, I kind of broke down the, zoom out just a little bit. So I got planting kind of broken into themes. So we've got kind of this Mediterranean type of theme at the entry and along the existing driveway. And then we've got kind of more like, it's like faux tropical type of thing around the pool. So got the new olive trees at the entry, and then there's a few new trees at the entry to the house as well. And then we're proposing a few palm trees around the pool. So this kind of gives you a overview of the different types of plants and where they're going. I guess what was the next comment on there?
That was it. That was the comments. And just to note, currently there is no pedestrian access. When people arrive at the house, they have to slide open the gate of the driveway and walk up the driveway. So we're creating sort of a whole new entry sequence and a new entry structure at additional square footage to kind of separate the family and the vehicle entry from the pedestrian access.
Okay, I think we're good to go with the presentation here. So.
Yeah, we can go ahead and move on to questions from the board. Does anyone have any questions?
The only question I have is, it looks like in the elevation, the entry pushes forward. You go to sheet 11, but in the plan, it doesn't look like those walls come forward. So if you go to sheet 9, there's just more a question. So and maybe okay, I was looking at the existing thing. That was it.
Yeah, the proposed is on the right.
Any other questions
thanks.
from the board? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to any public comment. There's no one in the audience. Is there anyone online?
We have nobody in the audience and we have no letter submitted. So
Okay.
no public comment for this item.
Public comment and move on to comments from the board. Josh, you want to start this? You want to?
Sure, I've never seen this before. Alex?
You
can
haven't?
review this?
Okay, has any other architect seen it?
I can start. So I've just looked at the comments. I'm kind of looking at this freshly. So in terms of architectural style, I think it's fine. The mass, bulk, and scale of the architecture is compatible with the neighborhood for sure. So the architectural style, usually there's three things I always say, and now I can't remember what the third is for some reason. Yeah, it's compatible with the neighborhood. So anyway, I don't see any particular issues. That just looking through the comments, looks like we're doing a little housekeeping on detail and execution of the design. So I'll defer to Alex on some of the details maybe, but the one that has me kind of puzzled is the awkward entry comment. I don't know it was there before. I don't sense that entry is awkward. It seems pretty diminutive, and it does do a nice job of announcing the entry of the house, which the current house had kind of a large arched opening that did that, and I think this is doing something similar to that. Seems appropriate. So the landscape scheme seems fine, and like I said, I think most of the comments were addressed with good intent, and I'm supportive of it.
Have you seen this before? Okay.
But I would echo Josh's comment, and I would just add that it seems like the detailing is going in the right direction, so it'd be good to actually see those details once they come back. Details in material board.
Okay, Alex?
I agree with those comments. I have two minor comments. Can you go to the landscape plan? The last page, I think, right there. I think enhancing the pedestrian access is really wonderful. I suggest another tree on the right side of the walkway, because it seems like the driveway gets all the attention with the trees. The pedestrian walkway could use another tree. Just a suggestion. Now let's go to the elevation again. Yeah, I think it's moving along. Can we go on the front? Get the front part, the upper, yeah, there we go, a little bit more, yeah. There we go. Yeah, I think the comment of the front entry still getting, still being small, or at least it gets lost. I wonder if there's a way to integrate the entry itself with the small room next to it, covered with a roof, and then integrate the fireplace, the chimney that comes behind. So that could be, that would be my preference, just to make it a little bit more easier to find, more prominent, because the element on the left is so much bigger, and it takes all the attention. It's a minor comment. I'm not sure how the other architects on the board, if they agree with that, but personally, that's what I would do. I would just emphasize the entry by creating a mass. The roof doesn't have to be symmetric. It could be continue to cover the space next door, integrate the fireplace. Anyway, those are some suggestions. Other than that, I think the project is going pretty well. Thanks.
I think the landscape plan is a huge improvement from what we previously saw. I think it's a good balance of screening from the street and adding the entry elements. So positive comments on the landscape plan. This is agendized for further conceptual. Unless there's any other action that needs to be taken, it can come back for, I think, prelim full board, just so we can see, well, come back prelim final, because since we've seen it a few times, and just ensure that you bring the architectural detailing, and then of course full landscape plans.
All right.
My suggestion on the record is a suggestion to increase the volume of the entry, the appearance.
I don't know if it needs to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Only because for me, when you're coming up, you're not seeing the end of where the garage is. That's my only thought.
Right.
Unless someone else.
Right, we'll go one member.
Could I ask a question? So in the last few days, there's been a question about the suitability of the cabana location based on the existing slope of the site there. And I was just wondering if the board would be willing to make any comment based on their interpretation of whether or not that's an appropriate spot for the cabana.
Clarify what the concern was?
Well, so there was the, and I'm relaying this from what I heard from the architect, but the planner said that there is a Goleta code that discourages or doesn't allow development on a slope that exceeds 20%. And there's an existing pool deck and then a retaining wall and then a slope that comes up behind it. And so if you interpret the area between the pool deck and the corner where this cabana is going to be at, then by math, it exceeds 20%. And if you look at it, it seems like a suitable spot for the cabana because
The current existing condition is flat because it has an existing retaining wall, so it's already been graded and flattened, yes?
yeah, and then the cabana is being located, partially on the location of where this retaining wall is. And then you can see in this example that this cabana is essentially like bunkered into an existing slope. It's not like we're grading up a pad and putting the cabana on top of it, but
It's
due to
clear, but the point I'm trying to get to is what's the existing historical kind of characteristic of what's going on there? Because I think that
go to you can see the photo there on the left. So you got that existing retaining wall and then a slope there.
Yeah, there you go. So
they're saying that's an unsuitable spot to cut in a location for a cabana. And so basically where you've got that existing retaining wall, you'd be moving a new retaining wall back into the slope, which is the back of the structure. And so the structure is sited such where it's bunkered into the hill, minimizes impact, but
yeah, I get that, but I'm just asking, is it the existing condition today? Is there a retaining wall already retaining that area for some other purpose?
yeah, you can see it right there. It's a boulder retaining wall. It's like 3.5 feet higher.
Top left.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to see, but it's behind that pool.
The new cabana is landing in the flat area that's already flat because it was already.
Well, and it
Approaching further.
and it encroaches further into
Right.
that.
Yeah, but how much? So by what? I'm trying to get to that. So how much percentage of it is in the existing flat area, and how much is in the new area that's being graded?
I don't know that I could answer that.
50/50,
Yeah.
100%.
Jeppe, do you have an understanding?
Probably 50/50. If you go
Okay.
to the grading, if you go to
That
the,
answers my question. That's what I was trying to get at. So,
okay.
so just, you requested a comment on there. So my comment would be, given that there's an existing condition there that is already providing space for a structure that's very small. And I think just the appropriate location for it in the general, like there's no other better location that you could pick for this. So, I don't think it's offending any element at the street or the neighbor adjacent. Like you said, it's fairly benched into the slope, so it's going to have a minimum visual impact. But I think, just respecting the idea that of the design guideline not to build on slopes of over 20%, if that's, I'm not familiar with that ordinance. I don't know if that's the exact number, but I understand the spirit of it. And I think if there's an existing condition that's at least half of what is already there, that seems like it can be supported. So I would support the location of the proposed cabana.
And I'll agree with that. I think this part of the community plan has been being interpreted a little bit differently than it was historically. It's been being interpreted a little bit more strictly. And I think when a project's coming to the BAR, there should be some discretion of whether it's for the betterment of the design. If other options have been vetted, that there is some, I think there should be some option for the BAR to allow for that encroachment. Any other comments?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I was just gonna weigh in on that. I appreciate that feedback on the BAR's review of that policy. I can for that policy in this project, we'll probably review this project with the deputy director and talk about process in regards to how we analyze that policy. In Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan is very direct and clear that development is prohibited on slopes of 20% or more unless it precludes reasonable development of a lot. So it is a very black and white policy. So that's why we've interpreted it that way. And so, but we're happy to talk about the potential of BAR providing that feedback, and then we can staff using that as a justification. We're happy to do that.
Joe, then have my comment read just so it's directly addressing the language that I'm supporting it because I think it promotes reasonable development of the site and otherwise would be unreasonable.
Yeah, I think we should add that it will be invisible from the public eye. It's not on top of a hill. It's not on a virgin 20% slope. It's behind the property. It will be completely invisible and out of view from the general public.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you all.
And can I add one thing? First of all, thank you very much for your comments about the gazebo. Super, very, very helpful. And then I just wanted to call your attention to the renderings. I think it was Alex had a question about the entry, and I think the what drawing is that? A4.3 just has a couple of visuals of the entry and the back area, but that entry, I think that shows sort of what we're intending to do. I don't know if that changes anything, but I just wanted to call your attention to that.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you. See you when you return.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. I have to recuse from item 5.
Yes,
Okay,
hello.
so we're reviewing the Valley Heart Ranch alterations, 24 bar BAR 00056 at 2275 Ortega Hill Road. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Daryl Becker with Becker Studios and Derek Eichelberger with Arcadia Studios here on behalf of 2275 Ortega Hill Road.
Welcome. We have a few comments. The first one is the board is split on support of the architectural style of the proposed projects. Some members are supportive of the architectural style and standing seam metal roof, but believe the windows should be recessed and roof overhang incorporated. Other members are concerned that the style is not congruent with the community of Summerland. This is comment 1. Include small overhang with roof eaves to give the facade more depth as demonstrated in inspiration photos. Study ways to recess doors and windows more. Comment B, updated colors and improvement and engagement with street is successful. ADA improvements are major, update and appreciated. Material palette is appropriate. C, landscape is major improvement over existing. Back courtyard is a nice space, although proximity to highway will be noisy. So this project received review only, no action was taken, and so it's coming back to us for what is it, preliminary and final. Okay, very good.
Yeah, correct. Hi,
Yeah,
Daryl
please,
Becker.
yeah, there's a memo. Yeah. Okay. The applicant is requesting 3. Can you read it, please, Jonathan? Yeah.
The applicant is requesting 3 variances from the C1 development standards, including setbacks, parking, and FAR. See project description below. Planning staff have identified inconsistencies with the Summerlin Community Plan goals and policies. See below. If inconsistencies cannot be rectified without redesign of the site, the project may need to return to your board for review if the applicant decides to resubmit a redesigned site plan. Goal Circ S6, adequate legal parking for existing, new, expanded uses development in all areas of Summerlin. Policy Circ S21, provide adequate short-term customer parking, including bicycles in the commercial core. Parking needs in the commercial core should be monitored and where appropriate accommodated. Summerlin commercial design guidelines include acceptable and encouraged, conditionally acceptable with finding, and unacceptable architectural styles. The acceptable and encouraged styles are California bungalow, seaside, and Victorian styles. The conditionally acceptable styles with finding are Monterey style and contemporary interpretations of the acceptable conditionally acceptable styles. The BAR may deem the conditionally acceptable styles acceptable if the following finding can be made. The design is well executed within the chosen style, and style, mass, scale, and materials proposed are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The unacceptable styles are Spanish or Mediterranean, Southwest European, Provincial, A-frame, and geodesic dome. The Summerlin commercial design guidelines include the following standards. C5.25 reflective metal should be avoided for use as roof material. C6.5 use colors that are appropriate to the use of the building and that complement the surrounding area. C6.6 colors for the body of the structure should complement the architecture and add to the unique style of the commercial care. The BAR may specify a LRV if there is concern regarding visibility of compatibility along Ortega Hill Road, Lily Avenue, or Barley Street. C6.7, consider a variety of colors and tones, blues, yellows, grays, and other hues rather than selecting non-distinctive beiges and browns. Primary colors should be avoided. C6.8, a distinction should be made between colors used in commercial core versus the residential areas. In most cases, a range of analogous or complementary colors, but preferred painting all surfaces with the same paint color and shade. C6.10, color should be used to visually reduce the size, bulk, and scale of the building. C6.20, windows and doors should be lightly recessed from the facade of the structure to provide a shadow line. Flush mount windows should be avoided. Summerlin Community Plan also includes the following policies. C3.16, plant materials appropriate for the California coast should be used, including native and drought-tolerant plants. C3.17, landscaping should provide a colorful palette that includes texture and scent. These elements play an important role in the entire pedestrian experience. C3.23, other landscape enhancements should planters, benches, and pots and desirable around the pedestrian traffic areas and storefronts where space is adequate for in-ground planting. Container plantings may be used. Any revisions to the project plans and any additional information regarding this project should be directed to the planner's attention for further review of project consistency. An amendment to this notice will be returned to your board. Additional conditions may be applied to the project at the variance coastal development permit phase if additional information indicates a need to condition the project to achieve consistency with policies. Final approval of the variance coastal development permit is subject to review by the planner.
So again, what are the variants that they're requesting? Go to the top. There are three.
I ask, is the planner on board for us today? We have the planner here.
Steve Connor is okay. So
yes, I am.
Yeah, good morning. What are the variants that they're requested right there? There are like three at the beginning, right? What is that?
One would be for setbacks because the existing building and the proposed building would be within the required setbacks. Another would be for the FAR, which this exceeds the required FAR. I believe it's something like 0.29, and this is something like maybe 0.47 or 0.49. And also for parking, because the coastal zone ordinance requirements for parking are something like 10. We were sort of working on that number, but their proposed number of spaces is 4. So we've had Transportation Division of Public Works review this, and they would typically need to write a condition letter for approval of the variance. And at this point, they don't support it with that level of parking that's proposed.
Thanks. Just a question. We reviewed this twice on about a year ago, and in June and in March of this a few months ago. So what has changed? Were we aware of these conditions, or something that came up during the review?
This was pointed out in the initial review, and we were working with the applicant to see if they had, some other proposals that might work with that,
Okay.
and we haven't gotten to that point. So
Great.
the applicant chose to, they wanted to bring it back to SBAR, and we told them, you know, this is our caveat is that
Okay.
right now as proposed, it's not something that would be supported by departments.
And regarding the setbacks, the existing and the proposed, are they more or less similar, or what kind of encroachments are we talking about with the setbacks?
They are similar. I believe the rear of the building might be, it was not initially at the property line, but now, you know, I guess the whole thrust of the project was to make it ADA compliant. And part of that is that they're adding ADA compliant bathrooms in the rear. And that actually pushes the building all the way to the property line. So that's probably the largest area that's changing, and they're encroaching further into the setback, actually to the property line, I believe.
Yeah, let me hold you back. Jonathan, can you put the site plan on the screen showing the setbacks, please?
PDF 7. 7.
Okay, let's blow this up. Yeah, so what exactly are the setbacks that we're talking about?
If you could see the top, that's the existing site plan.
And where is the setback line?
I believe there's a red dashed line there shown. And
So the red line is if this was,
That's the existing building.
that's just a straight application of the current zoning, right? That little envelope?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
It's already
Non-conforming, right?
it's already-
Yeah.
Yes.
And abutting a freeway, yeah? Like the majority of the disputed area that we're talking about today is adjoining a right of way to a freeway that's never going to go away, right? I'm just curious what the planning staff's opinion is, like when you're reviewing a setback. Setbacks are usually, you know, between properties, right? For obvious reasons we don't need to get into. When it's adjoining a public right of way, like a interstate highway or freeway, what you have any thoughts about that? A little different than it being up against somebody else's private property, right?
right, and staff at this point would probably support the reduction in setbacks.
Huh.
We don't see that as an issue.
Okay.
It's more the parking is the issue.
Oh,
It's apparent that there's a shortage of parking in this downtown commercial core.
Okay.
But
Thanks.
just a
That's-
question
that's
about,
my second question.
yeah, the question about the parking is, it looks like they're keeping what's existing.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, can I ask,
That was all.
just need a clarification from the planner?
Okay, so let's go, so we're okay with the setback. Let's go to the, next to the FAR. So what was there before and what is there now? What was the FAR before and what is it now?
That may be on the first page. There we go. Maybe toward the right top statistics.
Just a clarification, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify what you said. Question to the planner. So the project was teed up with my understanding is the setback, the parking, and the FAR are of concern. And those are the three areas that the planning department's still reviewing to see if you guys can support that. Did I hear you correctly say the only one of those three that's problematic for you at this point is parking?
That's correct.
And so can staff or can the planning staff support? I heard you say they can support the setback, and is the FAR as well something you can support a variance for?
That one, I don't see as problematic.
Okay.
We may need to talk about it more.
We're really just here to talk about the parking
No,
issue then.
okay, but let me clarify. What is the existing FAR? Just to, you know.
It's on the
yes,
top right of the sheet. It says existing is point,
0.45.
Is right now is, what is it? Point?
Looks 0.45 is what
Point-
it says. And proposed is 0.49,
Okay, so the FAR seems to be almost identical. Okay.
minimal.
Right, minimum. Okay, so we're done with setbacks and FAR. Now we're into parking. Okay.
Before we go into that too,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I'm just trying to get a framework here. So what In the planning letter, I see at the beginning, some discussion about the Summerlin Commercial Design Guidelines. So is there anything controversial about, there's a lot written here, so I assume you put it in here because you want us to make findings for it, but is there anything being disputed between the planning staff and the applicant right now around the interpretation of the design guidelines?
No, those were basically carried over. Those were, I believe, in the first memo previously. So we
Okay,
just carried them over. We weren't necessarily pointing them out as controversial.
Okay, so just in terms of helping you get your job done, it would be, I'm assuming, helpful if we just made some comments to affirm how the project does or doesn't comply with Summerlin
I think
guidelines,
it
right?
says that. It says the design is well executed within the chosen style.
Yeah,
And the style, mass scale, and materials proposed are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood.
that's the planner saying that. So we need to either agree or disagree with that to help them move this forward, I think, right? Is that correct?
That is policy in the Summerlin Community Plan.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to make sure that wasn't under contention. So, okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So yeah, let's go to the parking. So how much parking is there now? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
If
The same,
might-
right? The parking is basically the same, right?
It might be best if you go to PDF 7 while looking at the parking and the bike parking.
This one has more lines. It's a little bit less clear. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if there is 6 space in the back, hold on a second, move. That's just the backup space. Okay, all right, okay. And the next one has the same, right? 1, 2,
There's a
4
van
because of
a van accessible.
van accessible. Yeah.
I heard somebody say something about bike parking.
Correct. It's at the front of the turnaround, which is the ADA exit area next to parking space 1 closest to the road. The applicants met with transportation, roads, and every department to come up with this design solution. And one of the solutions was to put bike parking at the head of the ADA accessibility path.
And can you blow that up? I don't see it very well there. Where is it?
On the east side of the parking lot, right there.
On the far right where it says number 12.
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right, very good. Okay, so that's the parking. Do we have purview? Can we comment on the parking, or this is something that staff would like to take it on their own?
This is something typically staff, I believe, would talk to. Joe Dargle, would you want to weigh in on that?
Sorry about that. I need to unmute myself. Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, would you like SBAR input on the parking question or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think how the parking relates to the site planning and the overall design aesthetic, I think is relevant. However, with regard to the variance that's being requested for the reduction in number is a little bit more focused. It's not as focused on aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would say that kind of goes beyond the purview of your board.
So is that a yes or a no?
It's a yes in that you can discuss
right.
you can discuss
Okay.
it and you can talk about how it relates to site design.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so it's up to the board now. We're talking about the roof LRV reflectivity, the colors, the state. Yeah, okay. We have public comment?
We have no letter submitted, and we have nobody in our attendees column, so we have no public comment for the item.
Do we have a letter from Toby?
No letters.
Evans? No, okay, very good. So we close that part of the hearing, and it's up to the board. So, excuse me, maybe we may want to have a presentation first, I guess.
What's changed?
Yeah. Yes, what has changed from last time? Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. Daryl Becker here with Derek Eichelberger. Since the last appearance, we obviously took the notes to heart that that this board has presented. One of the things I do want to clarify is that our rear yard encroachment has not changed. Our plan hasn't significantly changed. We have studied editing down square footage adjustments. However, the ADA bathrooms on all previous sets look exactly the same as they have, encroaching adjacent to the freeway boundary line. So that those were not shifted or changed on any of our plan reviews because they are necessary. So back to the comments. I think the biggest thing is that this plan set has been completed with final building details. We've also provided a full landscape plan, which Derek will review. This board asked us to consider a pitch break and consistency or study the roof lines. And we added a pitch break across the main east-west roof outline, which extended the roof overhang. So we have a consistent roof break. If you'll go to PDF 18 and 19, 16, 18, and 19, those exemplify that. So let's just start with 18 perhaps. So at the end of the building on the western, so here's the pitch break across the front of the building. So the north-south elevations are gable elevations with no pitch break. And then those that are front to back, the main building line, if you'll go to the next PDF, you'll see it as well. We've added a pitch break and an extended eave as suggested by this board. So that was done and incorporated. We refined the door and windows and finished the door and window schedule. One of the things that we were asked to is to try to articulate the windows. So we have this wood siding with punched openings with this steel door and windows. And those are intended to be set to the interior of the elevation such that it feels like an expressed opening. That was an item that the board had asked us to take a look at. Back on the roof plan, we are using a custom box gutter on all of the roofs around. And so that helps with roof consistency. So on the north, south, and east, west elevations, we have that. And then last but not least, a couple of members of the board expressed that this property being up against the freeway and having the nice patio on the southerly elevation, that we consider adding a sound wall. And so that patio now has a sound wall added at 8 feet tall, shown right where the 3 trees are there at the bottom of this plan. We have a wall there that is consistent with the building line of the restrooms. Those are the significant changes. Just for purposes of the board understanding the parking, we've done backflips. We've done everything we possibly can to try to maximize parking and be compliant with bike parking, on-site parking, compliant ADA parking, proper paths of travel. And there is no additional real estate to put parking on this property. We have not extended further into the setbacks. In fact, we cut back the building so that we're creating some articulation along the front of the building of the street elevation. And so if you look at the comparative footprints, they're essentially the same, except as it is towards the freeway.
Very good.
We articulated the front and the back. We minimized the square footage. We have a minimum. We are adding 266 square feet, of which some of that is in the vaulted second floor office. There was an existing second floor office above the Tinker's building. Non-legal compliant staircase. We have a legal compliant staircase that goes up to that same space. So we've minimized the amount of building expression just to minimally comply with ADA. This is essentially an ADA and bring current the real estate and the architecture. So we've done everything we can. We have met with transportation. We have met with roads. The turnarounds for both trash truck and fire truck coming in and out of the property, those are shown, and both of those, all those departments have suggested that we use the ADA ingress, egress, unload area as the turnaround point for maximizing both the parking and the utility of servicing the building.
Okay.
Derek?
Very good. Thank you.
Can you pull up the landscape plan?
Yes.
That's good enough. Yeah, the landscape has really just evolved since the last time we've seen it. We tightened it up to make it a construction drawing now. The planters are more or less the same as previously. Daryl mentioned the little courtyard in back. We've added 3 specimen olive trees along there to sort of create a psychological buffer, I suppose, to the freeway. We also have some Growia vines growing on that that wall that'll cover it up. The rest of the planting is a mix of Mediterranean, native, and Australian type planting. We have a little boxwood hedge that screens the parking area as much as possible from the street at that spot adjacent to the handicap stall. And I think that's about it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? No questions? Okay, can we start with comments then? Who would like to start? Josh.
So I'm just going to go by the SBAR comments from last time. So the board is split on the architectural style of the proposed site. Some members supportive of the architectural style. I would be one of those. So I really support the architectural style, and I think I can find that this project is compliant with and meets the spirit of the Summerlin Commercial Design Guidelines. I believe this street has been in a transition mode for quite a while. And if I look at the existing, from a compatibility standpoint, if I look at the existing structures along
renderings,
main thoroughfare, and look at the development that's been arriving over the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, this project seems consistent with what's continuously or continually being approved. Like referencing maybe the Brian Cornell's project across the street and some of the projects further down. So, so I think it's compatible. I think the finding of, and I'm not sure whether it's seaside that we're talking about. I guess if the project was considered seaside, then the question is, does this meet Summerlin's idea of what that is? And based on what I just said, my opinion is that it's compatible with that. So the architectural style, I think, is very compatible with the surroundings, and it's a nice improvement. I'll also point across the street to the old commercial building across the street that's shown in one of the photos. It's very dated, unattractive, mid-century kind of building that has zero character and probably, hopefully, someday gets replaced to look more like this. So I think this is really helping establish the precedent that has been building along this thoroughfare for quite a while, and I think it's a really nice improvement to the area. So the small overhang with the roof eaves to give the facade more depth. I feel like just adding more elements to this is just going to busy it up, and so I like the simplicity of it currently. And I think as the building patinas and fades a bit, I think just being subtle and not trying to call too much attention to it with a lot of detailing, it kind of, to me, reflects like the old wave California seaside commercial architecture was mostly like canneries and crappy buildings that weren't really trying to achieve a heightened architectural style or be embellished or, reach a certain kind of classical or, I don't know, design refinement. They're usually simple, single wall construction, utilitarian and kind of rough, materials that handle the salt air. And I think this project looks like that. So I would say leave it the way it is. The color is nice, or the finish that's being proposed looks great. And obviously the landscape was great before and it's great again. So, Mr. Chair, I would be, since we have this before us today as an action item, I would be supportive of granting preliminary approval today as submitted. Bring it back on consent after these issues with actually probably should come back for full board since there's going to be some work. I'll leave it up to you, but it seems like there's work to do with the planner. As far as the parking is concerned, or the three findings that I think the county is dealing with here. Obviously, the setback to me is, I'll make a comment about that. I think since it's adjoining or it's abutting a freeway, I think we can find that it's an acceptable proposal to encroach into that setback for the purposes of improving the architecture and bettering the design. The FAR increase is nominal, and again, the applicant's trying to achieve a quality here. A little bit of extra square footage to help them get there, I think, is an appropriate thing. So I think that's fully supportable. The parking, look, I hate to see good development be curtailed by parking. Form follows parking is not how we should be adjudicating projects. So the loss of one space or the inclusion of a more appropriate accessible parking space, along with probably a safer entrance and egress from Main Street is justification for losing a parking space. So it's a busy downtown area. There's plenty of parking to be had elsewhere. Obviously, parking is scarce down there, but I don't think this project is going to shouldn't be contingent upon one parking space. So I don't know what this board can do to forward this, but I would support it as is.
I guess I would echo all of Josh's comments, and I think just in general on the variances being asked for setbacks, parking, FAR, I think the applicant was already working with an existing structure that was non-conforming. And so I think that the development being proposed is not truly exceeding what's already there. And I think that, the amount of landscaping around the structure and along the street and along the parking, I appreciate that, that they kept all of that. So I feel like this development is it's an improvement on the site. And I also appreciate it being more accessible for more people. So.
Richards.
I agree with everything, and I wanted to add that I find that the landscape meets the requirements of the Summerlin guidelines. And also, in regards to the parking, it says that this site would require 10 spots of parking. I think if you put 10 spots of parking on here, it'd probably take up half the site and make it, not feasible for the type of work that the applicant's doing here. So I think totally makes sense for them to maintain the existing parking as it is proposed.
I just wanted to add one other thing just on parking. I know we're evaluating it in relation to this site, but just also taking into consideration it's in kind of the main street of Summerlin, and there is a lot of street parking. And so that should be taken into consideration.
Very good. So advice from the planner. I think this is ready for final, and as far as design, do we have the details? Yeah, so, right, we have the details, right? So you're advised to go for preliminary or final, or can we go with final? Because I don't want to go back to this with, without any changes.
They can't do any, there's no review after final, so given that they're still tangling up some stuff here with the planning staff, I think.
The parking, it's basically, the parking will kill it, you know.
We don't, I know, I don't know that. They may have to redesign.
Well, all right, let's go with a safe approach. Let's go for is there a motion for a preliminary?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just weigh in really quick on the next steps. So this variance request, it has to go to the zoning administrator still for approval. So it can definitely not get final approval today, and actually it should not be getting preliminary approval either. It needs to go to the zoning administrator, get that approval, and then come back, and then you can give your preliminary and final approval at that point. This hearing today, I think, is important for going to the ZA. You would want to get positive comments so that that can be included in the administrative record, so that that would be included in the staff report for the ZA. So that's my recommendation for the board today, is to just make the comments for the ZA to review, and then it will return after action by the ZA to the board.
Great.
All right, very well.
Thank you.
So my only question, Mr. Chair, is to the applicant and to the planner, have we given you guys enough fuel to get to your next step in the process, or do you need more comment from us to do that?
I believe it's as complete as it can be, as long as these minutes are properly reflected. I think this board is in full support of the project, subject to the zoning administrator reviewing the project pursuant to the comments made.
Right, and to the planner, is there anything else we can do to help you?
No, this should be adequate if we get, like Mr. Dargle mentioned, positive comments, basically to recommend it to the zoning administrator.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna not make a motion for preliminary.
We'll continue that for preliminary final after the zoning administration action, right? Very good. Okay, thank you. That concludes the item. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I believe that concludes the meeting.
Sir, thank you.